Introducing the first ever Brawl Stars tier list made by you all, the community. That's right, we had over 7,500 people help make this Brawl Stars tier list. Could this be the most accurate tier list ever for Brawl Stars? Well, let's see what it looks like. Now, I put out this survey on Twitter and on my community tab asking you all to rate every single brawler 1 through 5. We're also able to get a retweet from the Brawl Stars Twitter, so thank you to them. We're able to get a wider audience. We're able to have over 7,500 people participate in this survey. And if you're curious about what the trophy range of the people who participated was, well, a little bit under a third of them was below 5,000 trophies. Another third was about 5,000 to 7,500 trophies. And then a little bit over a third was above 7,500 trophies. So we got a good range for every single trophy amount. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna rank every brawler by the combined average score that they got across all trophy ranges from 1 to 26. We're also going to briefly talk about for every brawler how that score changed across trophy ranges. For example, how is Shelly rated at low trophies compared to how she's rated at high trophies? And I can tell you it's pretty different for a lot of these brawlers. It's actually pretty interesting how that changes across the trophy ranges. All right, let's start off at number 26. Oh, and by the way, I'm actually not going to put brawlers in tiers because I didn't ask you to put brawlers in tiers, and doing it based on the average score, well, it just didn't entirely seem accurate. Oh, also, if you're wondering if people just in general rate brawlers lower as they get higher in trophies, well, you're kind of right, but it's not by that much. The total average score only changed by about 5% across the board as you go from the lowest trophy range to the highest trophy range, so not a big difference. Okay, number 26, what you had as the worst brawler in the game, it's going to be Poco. That's right, Poco with an average score of 2.26. So the majority of you, and this is again the lowest brawler no one thinks is terrible, which is probably good because I did ask you to rate them for all game modes combined. Now, Poco actually was one of the biggest drops as far as going from the lowest trophy range to the highest and what his score was. He actually, compared to the lowest trophy range to the highest, his score dropped by 0.75, so almost a whole point. And actually in the lowest trophy range, he was 23rd, and the highest, he was 25th. Those were the only two ranges where he wasn't dead last. All right, now at number 25, it's going to be Mortis. Mortis with an average score of 2.38. He was either last or second to last in every single trophy range, and his score did not change overall too much. I'm a little bit surprised to see him second to last, but I'm not surprised to see him that low. Maybe this is a reflection of him being a high skill cap brawler. I'm not entirely sure. Now at number 24, it's going to be Piper with an average score of 2.61. And Piper was another brawler whose score changed a ton as she went higher in trophies. If you were in the lowest trophy range on average, you had her around 15. She dropped all the way to 24 as you go higher and higher in trophies to the highest trophy range. So I guess people in lower trophies really thought Piper was a pretty decent brawler who was hard to deal with. Maybe not very strong, only 15, but it completely changed as you went really high in trophy. At number 23, it's going to be Tara with an average score of 2.66. Now, her overall score does drop a little bit as you go higher in trophies, but it's not a huge difference like some of the other brawlers. And at number 23, I feel like that's really about where I would expect her, and that's pretty close to where I had her in my own overall tier list a couple weeks ago. Now at 23, it's going to be Primo, who had an average score of 2.71. And let me tell you, Primo was the biggest change from low trophies to high trophies. He almost changed a whole point lower as you went from the lowest trophies to the highest trophies. He was in the lowest trophy range. He was rated at number 12 as the 12th strongest brawler, but as you went to above 10,000, he dropped all the way to 23rd, and on average that is where he ended up being, is 23rd. So Primo Well, as you can see, people, I guess just get better at dealing with El Primo as you get higher in trophies, which honestly is what I sort of always thought, but it's definitely interesting to see it finally put to number. All right, at 21, it's going to be Dynamite with an average score of 2.85. Now, Dynamite's score remains relatively the same throughout all the rankings, and this score does not really surprise me for Dynamite. I had him maybe slightly higher in my overall tier list, but he's honestly pretty much overshadowed by Barley in a lot of ways, and I don't feel like he consistently hits enough shots to be a huge threat that he really probably wants to be. Now, at 20 is, to me, probably the biggest surprise of this whole rankings, because this is a brawler that I consistently have in my top 10 in a lot of my rankings because he's such a versatile brawler. But apparently a lot of people disagree, because here he is, and at number 20, it is Daryl. That is right, Daryl with an average score of 2.86. And my first thought as to why Daryl is this low is, well, Daryl without star power is actually really, really bad. So in that sense, I kind of understand him being this low. But actually, Daryl's highest score is at the lowest trophy range, and it only gets lower from there. He doesn't have a huge drop, but it is a decent drop as he gets lower in trophies, so that theory goes out the window. So as far as why he's this low, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he's a higher skill cap brawler than I thought, but yeah, Daryl is going to be number 20. Now at 19, it's going to be Bull with an average score of 2.89. And Bull has a pretty similar story to El Primo, who has a much higher ranking and score at the lowest trophy range compared to the highest. In the lowest, he's ranked all the way at number 11. But as you get to above 10,000 trophies, he drops all the way to 21. Although on average he ends up at 19. He does drop about 0.8 total points from the lowest to the highest trophy range. So you're seeing some tanks have pretty big differences in rankings in the low trophy range compared to the high trophy range. All right, at number 18, it's going to be Shelly with an average score of 2.93. Now, Shelly does drop in score as you get lower in trophies, as you get higher in trophies, but it's not a crazy drop like Bull or El Primos. It's about a 0.6 drop. This is about where I would expect Shelly to be, though. She did get some buffs recently, but she's still really not a great brawler. All right, at 17, it's going to be Frank with an average score of 2.97. But Frank also has a crazy drop. If you compare his score from the lowest trophy range to the highest, he's all the way at number 6. The 6th highest brawler in the lowest trophy range, and goes all the way to 17 in the highest. But his overall score change is 0.87, so almost a whole point, similar to El Primo. So you're seeing, you're probably noticing a pattern. All these really low range, high health guys are dropping a ton as you get higher in trophies. Why that is, we can only guess. At 16, it's going to be Rico with an average score of 3.13. Now, Rico's score remains pretty consistent as you change in trophies. I'm a little bit surprised to see Rico this low. In my tier list, I had him a couple spots higher at least. I think he's a pretty versatile brawler, but at the same time, he's not very strong in any particular mode. He's just kind of a versatile brawler, so maybe that's why. At 15, it's going to be Penny with an average score of 3.20, and Penny's score doesn't change that much as you change trophy range with her. This is about where I would expect with Penny, who is not great at that many things. Good in Siege, good in Gem Grab. Outside of that, you're probably not playing her in that many plays. At 14, it's going to be Colt with an average score of 3.25, and his score also does not change that much as you change trophy ranges. And I'm honestly not that surprised to see him and Rico very close together. They are, of course, very similar brawlers, with the exception of how their shot angles. But that's pretty much it. Otherwise, their characteristics are very similar, so looks out, their rankings are very similar. All right, at 13 is the new brawler BB with an average score of 3.30, and her score also doesn't change that much as you change trophy ranges. Now, I went ahead and asked my Coach Cory Pro Squad what tier they would put BB in for every mode. I feel like this is a good time to do that, and this is about the ranking I probably would end up giving her. In Gem Grab, they had her as a B tier. In Solo Showdown, she was an S tier. Duo Showdown, A tier. Brawl Ball, S tier. Siege, A tier. Heist, a B tier. And Bounty, a D tier. So I think with those tiers in mind, she is around 13. I might end up putting her slightly higher if I were to redo my overall tier list, but I think this is pretty accurate for her. I'd also say she's definitely very reliant on her star power. I think her star power is a top 10 star power. It definitely makes her a lot better. At 12, it's gonna be Bo, who just barely edges out BB, slightly higher score, and his score also does not change much as you increase or decrease in trophies no matter where you are. So Bo, he's a pretty consistent brawler. You pretty much know what you're getting with him with the mines and high health and okay damage, but that's pretty much it with him. All right, at number 11 is gonna be Nita with an average score of 3.33. Now, Nita's score does change a good amount as you increase in trophies. Actually, in the lowest trophy range, she was on average at number 20, but as you got to the highest, Nita got all the way up to number 11, about a 0.46 total change in score from those ranges. So definitely some changes with Nita. Makes kind of sense. Nita, one of the better competitive 3v3 brawlers. So I'm not too surprised to see as you get in a more competitive area, Nita starts rising up in score. All right, now we're in the top 10, baby. At number 10, it's going to be Brock. Brock with an average score of 3.64. And Brock, like Nita, also changes a lot as you increase in trophies. At the lowest trophy range, he was ranked all the way at 18, but as you got to above 10,000 trophies, he went all the way up to number 8. So it definitely changes a lot with Brock as you increase in trophies. I'm definitely surprised to see Brock all the way at 18 for the lowest trophy range. I think he's a pretty solid brawler who's not that hard to use, but I guess people just sort of really like close range brawlers at, you know, the lower trophies, and maybe they just don't like the long range ones. I'm not quite sure. At number 9, it's going to be Jessie with an average score of 3.65. Now, Jessie's score does increase a little bit as you increase in trophies, but it's not that big of a difference. And this is about where I would expect her to be. I had her a little bit lower in my overall tier list, but I still think Jessie is around a top 10 brawler. She is a pretty strong brawler, especially with her star power. All right, now number 8 is actually a bit of a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting this brawler to be this high, but it's gonna be Crow. Crow with an average score of 3.67, and his score doesn't really change that much as you go across the board. Crow did get a buff somewhat recently, so he's a pretty annoying brawler these days to face, and he's kind of versatile. You can use him in a lot of different ways, and he's definitely not that bad, although especially in solo showdown and duo showdown, plus in heist too. So Crow, definitely a pretty usable brawler, and clearly a lot of people think so. Now at number 7, it's going to be Barley with an average score of 3.82, and let me tell you, it totally changes for Barley from low trophies to high trophies. In fact, this is the biggest difference for all the brawlers across the board. At the lowest trophy range, Barley was rated at number 22, and at the highest trophy range, he was rated at number 3. That's right, a 19 place difference for Barley from low trophies to high trophies. I don't know exactly what it is, but people just totally do not like Barley at low trophies. They must just think, I don't know, he's got low damage per shot or whatever it is. But as you get higher in trophies, people really start to understand and like how strong the control is on Barley, even though he doesn't have a ton of damage. He has a 0.92 difference in the score from low trophies to high trophies. Pretty crazy with Barley. Now, number 6, we have the opposite story, but it's gonna be Pam with an average score of 3.9, and Pam was the most consistent score across the board, with almost no difference from low trophies to high trophies. Pretty much everyone thought Pam was pretty dang good, but no one thought she was amazing anymore. But still, number 6, that's clearly a good brawler. All right, we're in the top 5 now. At number 5, it's going to be Jean with an average score of 3.91. Now, Jean also was one of the bigger risers of the ranking. At the lowest trophy range, he was at number 7, and then he went all the way to number 2 above 10,000 trophies, a 0.64 total difference in score from those guys. And I'm not that surprised to see Gene changing that much as you get higher in trophies. I do think he's a little bit of a high skill cap brawler, or at the least, I think he works much better with teams than with random players. When you have coordination, you can do much better with Gene, I think, than with a random team. So I definitely think this sort of change with Gene makes a lot of sense. Now at number 4, it's a little bit surprising to see him this high, but he's been a good brawler for a long time. So it's going to be Spike. The average score of 4.03, and his score doesn't change that much as you increase in trophies. It does get a little bit higher, but it's not that crazy. He is pretty good versus the newest brawler, so maybe that's part of the reason he's higher. He has been sliding down my rankings a little bit, but he hasn't gotten nerfed in any way, and he's still a very solid brawler who's very versatile and good at a lot of different things. So him being in the top 5 is really not that surprising. Now at number 3, it's going to be Carl with an average score of 4.07. Now I have Carl as my best brawler in the game, and I don't think it's close, but it changes a lot depending on your trophy range. Maybe because Carl's star power is a big part of why he's so strong. At the lowest trophy range, Carl was at number 8, but at the highest, he was at number 1 with about a 0.8 difference in his score. So it's not that surprising, I guess, if you're considering his star power, because that is a big part of him. But I do think Carl, at least Max Carl, is the best brawler in the game, and I don't think it's close. All right, at number 2, I'm definitely surprised to see this brawler this high. It's going to be a Leon, who just barely edges out Carl for the number 2 spot. Now, Leon's average score does drop a little bit as you go lower in trophies, and at the lowest trophy range, Leon is by far the number 1 brawler, and I'm curious as to why. Maybe it's because Leon is a legendary, and I was wondering, well, maybe not that many low trophy people have legendary brawlers, and I guess Leon just kind of seems overpowered when you're facing him and you don't have him and you just die suddenly to an invisible Leon. That is one of the more frustrating things in solo showdown. But he is a definitely solid brawler. I had him in my top 10, and he's around my top 5 at the moment. So he's a good brawler, although I'm a little bit surprised to see him all the way at number 2. Now, what you all had as the number 1 brawler in the game, it is none other than Rosa, who actually got a big fat nerf recently, but you guys didn't really care. You still had her as the best brawler in the game, and for the most part, it was pretty consistent across all trophy ranges. She was the second most consistent brawler for whether her score changed that much or not. Now, also, before you go, I really want to show you something that I think you'll find interesting. I just want to go ahead and show you the quick overall ranking for every trophy range from 1 to 26. Just, you know, for whatever trophy range you are, you can go ahead and see what people at your trophy range thought were the best brawlers. So you're probably gonna have to pause the video because look, here it is right now. 0 to 3,000. All right, now here's 3,000 to 5,000. Here's 5,000 to 7,500. Here's 7,500 to 10,000. And here is what I think is probably the most accurate one, 10,000 plus trophies. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands, but that's what's going on. I don't know what's going on, I guess, but those are the rankings. Now, if you want to see what I think are the real best brawlers in the game approved by the Coach Cory Pro Squad, check them out right over there. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.